Hey, hello again, everybody. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about an objection to Descartes' argument against radical skepticism. So this is known as the Cartesian Circle objection. Um, so first of all, we need to understand what circular reasoning is. So the objection here is that Descartes makes a logical mistake. Namely, he uses circular reasoning. So what is circular reasoning? Circular reasoning is when you use the conclusion of an argument as a premise within the argument. So take an example argument here. Um, Everyone loves Angela. Okay, what follows from that? Therefore, Angela is so popular, right? So we might wonder here is the conclusion means pretty much the same thing as the premise. So if we say that being popular is being loved by everyone, and being loved by everyone is what being popular is, well, then it seems like it doesn't necessarily follow from the first premise that we get the conclusion, right? These two things are so similar, right, that the premise doesn't give logical support to the conclusion, right? So if we were to say something like, suppose premise one was Angela is very helpful, therefore Angela is popular. Well, that can follow from that because the premise explains why the conclusion is true, right? So we have another sampular circular reasoning. So much of the news is fake, therefore the news is fake, right? So basically we are using the pretty much the very same conclusion as the premise of the argument. So if we were to say something like, so much of the news depends upon faulty assumptions, therefore the news is fake, right? That might be an argument that's not circular. But as it stands now, this is a circular argument. Both of these arguments are circular because the conclusion is stated as a premise in the argument. Okay, so what does this have to do with Descartes? So the problem with Descartes' argument is that he needs the principle of clarity and distinctness to establish that God exists, right? However, God's existence as a non-deceiver establishes the plausibility of the principle of clarity and distinctness, right? So here's the idea. Descartes wants to say, well, why does God exist? Well, because God's existence is clear and distinct, right? And you might say, well, why does that matter? Well, it matters because given that God exists, we can trust in things that are clear and distinct to us, right? And so what he's doing is he's kind of flipping this conclusion and this premise back and forth to support one another. And that's problematic reasoning, right? So either he needs to give us some other reason to think that God exists, and because God exists, the principle of clarity and distinctness is true, right? Or he needs to give us some other reason that the principle of clarity and distinctness is true, and then he can use the principle of clarity and distinctness to establish that God exists. So in short, his argument uses a conclusion, namely that God exists, and that the principle of clarity and distinctness is plausible as a premise in his argument, right? So this is the Cartesian circle, just just like sort of bare bones of it. If you have any questions, just email me. If you don't understand what circular reasoning is, email me. Okay, thanks.